and then I'm gonna hit start streaming.
Great.
Hopefully it doesn't
Now
slow down my
recording.
computer too much.
Welcome
okay,
to
we're live.
Welcome to the YangGang Roundtable. It is Saturday, January 3rd, 2021, 3:12 p.m. We have Faye Doney, Izzy B, Kaizen, Karen, myself, and our guest today is Joshua, NPV. Thank you. It's good to see you. We are
and the almighty Craig.
And the almighty Craig, of course. Izzy, did I get you? Did I skip you when I was going over people? Did you just come in and out? Anyway, Faye Doney, Ariel, Izzy B. A nice group here. So we're a basic income advocacy podcast. It's very nice to meet you. How you doing? What's on your mind?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's my fault. I should have been more clear. We're a little too informal sometimes.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No.
No, I mean, I'm really excited that things are changing. And the possibility that Andrew Yang might be running for mayor. That's really exciting. Next chapter, if you will.
Yeah, I'm located pretty close to New York City. I'm in Middletown, which is in Orange County, like 90 minutes north of New York City. I was priced out. I lived there some time ago, over 10 years ago. So the prospect of Yang being the mayor is like kind of bittersweet for me, because I'd be like, still priced out of New York City while people are receiving. Oh yeah, I am. Well, people are receiving their basic income just like an hour away, and where I used to live. But I still hope it happens.
How do you feel about how that message will be received in New York, the UBI and all of that?
Positively, we're a pretty progressive place. We have a little bit of sort of nanny state regressivism, and there's a little bit of conservative regressive backlash and business culture in New York with Wall Street and stuff. And, overall people like money, and people are pretty open-minded and solution-oriented, I think, in New York. We just got places to be. We want to get stuff done, and nobody's so ideological they're going to say we can't have money for people unless they're a really rich corporate crony. And there are not there are only so many of them. So
well, I mean, the biggest hurdle is that is the corruption and stuff. You do have like big interests and whatnot.
The city government is the real hurdle. The ossified, entrenched, corrupt government of New York City is absolutely a terrifying opponent to have to overcome. So and already they're doing things like framing ranked choice voting as racist, which is going to be the terrifying playbook this whole time. It's ugly.
Like Josh was saying, like times are changing. So it's like, and I'm actually like pretty surprised what has happened in these past couple of days. I mean, I'm not entirely shocked either, but it's just wow, I was not expecting it. But it's a great turning point, and I mean, I'm hoping like we get like a nationwide protest, to rebel against the system and stuff. Make this whole country work for us, just like what the Constitution says. That might, the way things are going, that might happen. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be too optimistic, but stay tuned, right?
What do you feel has changed in the past couple of days?
Well, I mean, it just seems like, there's more dialogue around the stimulus checks, even some of the GOP are coming on board. It was up to 2,000. So the dialogue's kind of opening up there. And I think it's almost like impossible that it not be addressed, because American people are very restless. And, even like you can see what they did to Pelosi's house and McConnell's house. I mean, that's just crazy, right?
I love
They're
that.
ramping it up. And so it's like a testament of that, people are just really restless, and they have been begging for change, and we're not going to put up with it that much longer,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just seeing that the good news is it was both houses. Ironically,
yes,
it was
exactly, and that was the message to be sent.
It was Pelosi's first, but I think McConnell show went first, and then maybe Pelosi. But I don't care about the order. It's no big deal. But I think like everybody's understanding that like they both suck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, look, like we don't want to hear them attacking each other. We just want the stuff to be done. If there was a corporation and you had like two teams, who are competing against each other to sell the most, the manager wouldn't be happy if one team tried to sabotage the other team. He'd want both teams to like sell a lot, but whoever sells the most would be the best team. That's kind of like what a manager would want. But when you had two teams that were selling nothing and basically sabotaging the other teams from selling things, the manager wouldn't be happy and the manager would be bankrupt. And that's where we, the people, find ourselves now. We have these two teams who should be both like helping the country, but all they're doing is sabotaging each other and not helping anything at all.
But one major thing that I think a lot of people ignore, people literally bet on politicians, okay? People literally bet on the system, right? And I don't know if you've seen a racehorse, but like race horses do their thing, right? But people go in there, they're like, I'm going to bet on this person, right? I'm going to bet on this horse, right? And there might be some cheating and sabotaging and, blah, 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 right? All the different intricacies. And you know what happens to the horse? They get back to their shitty little life, right? When they're all is said and done. And all this money was around them and their performance, right? They're the core ingredient in this whole thing. And all they do is run around on a circle or track, right? And then that's their life. And that's our politicians. Yeah. That's everything. Could you imagine if we crowdsourced like activism? Like if all of us had crowdsourcing
instead of
the politicians,
like a hamster wheel.
Get done.
It's just like a hamster wheel.
It's like the Raging Bull that they it's like the Raging Bull that they like ride on like in front of all the crowds and stuff, and then like when it's done they just like put it back into that cage or whatever, that shave or whatever. But yeah, it's like performing in front of the crowds, placing their bets, and and not really giving a shit about the animal itself and stuff. So.
Right. I think people should be more involved in politics when it's like not elections at all. Like and actually like it should be the opposite. Elections should just be like, we really don't care. Where can we sustain the change right now and push for something and like coax whoever's in charge right now, and elections are the sideshow. Yeah.
Point out another thing that has been on my mind though. Like I was doing some research on how politicians do their work and how you could get like media presence, blah blah blah. And I was just doing that to figure out how I could apply that to my life. And I realized I was already doing a lot of these steps. But somehow I was crowdsourced just like they are, right? But I'm actually getting shit done. There's a lot less drama and I'm spending my money wiser, right?
Yeah.
And like I don't have a house over my head consistently. I mean, that's by choice because I like to travel, right? But like I have no actual stability like these motherfuckers, and they're not shit. Like, I'm sorry. You're doing a terrible job with the resources provided to you. You know who's getting 100%. That money? Advertising. Like all the media outlets. All these other people are getting the money and not giving it to where it belongs.
How many former mayor of New York, now we're on the topic, Bloomberg, spent like millions of dollars on ads? How about if that millions of dollars went to you, Faye, instead of Bloomberg's ads? How about if it went to people like us who are trying to actually build something instead of this rotten, wrinkled up dumb shit with his ads? Like that's oh god, do you
have any idea how much money can be sent to us with millions of dollars? Like, my goodness, $2 million of dollars, like
how much would we be able to get done?
You have to play the game to even be in the politics. So you can't be your authentic self. You have to cater to, I guess I'm Christian now because that's how I'm going to get votes. You're not authentic to yourself. You're selling your soul so you can get votes, so you can get money, so you can have stability and not make change, right? You don't actually have to make change.
Josh,
just talk about
it. How did you get on what's his name? Tom from Nerds for Yang. Did he reach out to you, or did you reach out to him?
Yeah, initially I reached out to him to come onto my show, and then thereafter he returned the favor, I guess. And since that time, I guess he liked what I, sort of had to offer, because I'm offering the progressive perspective, and he tends to have, those that are more like in the middle on his show. So he wanted, I guess that was a good balance in his mind to have me on.
Yeah, but
You've done. I don't actually know much about you. Could you share a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah. So I have a channel called New Progressive Voice, and I've been following politics maybe for about 6 years. Back in 2016, 15, I voted for Bernie during the primaries, and then after he wasn't able to get in the general, I voted for Joe Stein. And then this time around, I
you're
would have
also in
voted
the
for
Army.
Yang. Yeah, I was in the Air Force. This time around, I would have voted for Andrew Yang, but I'm in the state of California. So by the time, he dropped out. So I went back with Bernie again this time around.
I would have loved to have voted
actually-
for Bernie or Yang. They were both great choices.
Right.
Well,
right.
and
I voted for Howie
I,
Hawkins. He was the only guy in by the time I got to vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also
Yeah, it was
like
interesting.
yeah.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying like I saw your I actually discovered you while like back when Andrew Yang was running, like, and you were doing videos. Like you were like the second Tom of Nerds for Yang. Like you were showing the data and stuff, and like the listening to polls and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There was not much bias, just straight up like results and stuff, and great coverage, and
Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate
so yeah, I discovered you there.
I love. We need more of this. I love the way you went in piece by piece and you paused those videos and you went like exactly to where something didn't make sense or something was screwed up, and you went in there.
Yeah,
and,
I did
and
quite a bit of rebuttals.
Like all those were all. I love them because it was like a logic, science driven approach to politics, and it's funny because a lot of people they label progressive people and Democrat people as like, oh, you can't control your emotions, and your emotions have nothing to do with what the facts are. But you are the complete opposite. You're like, this isn't my emotions. These are just the data and the facts and like all this stuff. And then you said, like, first of all, like when talking about the freedom dividend, did all these sons and daughters of oil barons and like steel barons earn their money, and the sons and daughters of the tech giants? It's like, and we lost access to the commons. We've lost access to like all this stuff with private property, and Thomas Paine was for this too. So you just went at that approach, and I love that. And it's amazing that we don't see that kind of approach on cable news. We just see them barking at each other. Stupid.
It's ridiculous, man. It's just like we need more of this. We need more people like Josh and Tom, even like that guy Brian from Clear Value Tax. The same sort of structure, the same sort of like news coverage and stuff. No bias, no BS. Just like telling you straight up what's the deal. No clickbait or anything. Saying this is your daily news,
what are the
etc.,
facts?
etc.
Just
right.
Tell us the facts, and we'll build something from there. Yeah.
I have a question, Josh. So you're pro Yang. We're all pro Yang, coming from different perspectives. It seems like the progressives, like I was for Bernie, and then he went to the federal jobs guarantee, and I was like, well, come from a caregiver background, so I thought, well, I'm already doing a job. What do you think are some areas where there's been resistance and maybe could break through?
Mm-hmm. You mean in terms of the progressives in general trying to break into the mainstream?
Trying to get them to understand the Yang position.
Got it. On the Bernie side. I think that there's a lot of misinformation around the impact of his freedom dividend on the Social Security or the safety net. I think that scared them early on. They're still bogged into sort of this means-tested way of doing things, which I think ultimately doesn't result in the outcomes that we want to see as progressives, because universal themes really are going to free us from a lot of the stigma that the left wing carries around with it, like the bleeding heart liberal and, trying to pinpoint certain groups that are dependent. So we create a codependent relationship. So we really need to show them that we're not threatening things like Social Security. We're not threatening things like Medicare. We're not threatening things like anything that isn't cash-based. So we have to do a better job of sharing that with them.
Well, what does that look like?
Follow up on that is, why are progressives resistant to hearing from the people on the benefits programs about the deficits that it has? Because I've been involved with it because my daughter's disabled, so in disability benefits, and you can't tell them how well it doesn't work. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I think it's just because they fought so hard, to achieve what little they've gotten, and so that threatens them. Anything that's perceived as, hey, let's re-examine this, because Republicans have done that, and even Democrats have done that. Let's put this back on the table to see if we can rehash it, make it better. And then they were portrayed, later down the way, and so they have the same idea about Yang is just coming in as a Trojan horse to steal everything, and he's trying to trick us, basically. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, the issue I have with progressives today, I mean not like in general, but just like what I've seen in like the Bernie campaign, usually from like big names, is that first off, like them, like they're so angry and frustrated that they're not getting what they want, that they're literally taking it out on people who are in the same movement, who have come from that camp. Like even Bernie Sanders was my second choice in 2016. Andrew Yang is a hardcore burner, and I'm sure like various of us have come from that camp as well. So it's like it's just weird that they would throw any sort of shade or vitriol away, or even join the smear campaign, all because like what Andrew Yang doesn't have a carbon copy of Bernie's Medicare plan. But the other thing is like, he said Julian Assange should stand trial, and that he gave a bad answer to a foreign policy question, and it was like hellfire and brimstone ever since. And then like even freaking Kyle Kalinske mocked Andrew Yang on the first debate because he was trying to like the moderator, whatever, he didn't answer the question properly. He was quiet, and he was like, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" And they're like, "Oh, what's the matter? You can't answer a question." And then they act like they have all the right answers and stuff. And then when there's any sort of pushback from us, they're like, "Oh, how dare they come after me? Like, I'm just like, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just talking about." They'll try to use like Medicare for all or free college or Green New Deal as like their alibi. Say, "Oh, why are you coming after me? I'm pushing for Medicare for all. How dare you attack me?" And I'm like, "Excuse you?" So it's like that's the sort of stuff that you see, like MAGA do, whatever. And when I first heard that, the Bernie camp is coming after us, I said, "Man, you're trolling. Like that's bullshit." But then until I saw it myself, and I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" And not only that, but freaking surrogates, went on join the smear. I even saw like like Stephanie Keaton. I think Nita Turner jumped in, but also
Wow.
like there's also like this one guy on Twitter, People for Bernie. They call Scott Sands a grifter, one of the biggest experts on UBI, and the one of the driving forces of this movement. They called him like a straight up grifter. They call UBI, well, AOC called UBI a libertarian Trojan horse, and all these people like they even went after Marianne Williamson for supporting Mike Breuer instead of Charles Booker. Like, are you kidding me? That's like, come on, that's just petty behavior.
Yeah, I want to interject here. Sorry. Yeah. So okay, I've been doing some on the ground investigation in Fort Deposit, right? A very small town, right? 1,200 population. It's not that many people, right? And so, like, I don't fucking care about the politics of this place. I want to figure out what the actual problems are, right? So I had to go interview some people, and I came across this elderly lady who's in charge of some of the things that happen here. And she's like, we got all these programs. We have all the resources. If they wanted help, they could get help. They could get out of the situation. They're just not using it. I'm like, well, but let me finish. My observations are that, like, whatever you've done isn't working, okay? This town is dead and decaying. So there's a disconnect between what you think is working and what isn't working. And she was kind of in a huff about it because I'm pretty sure she's been behind some of these programs, right? I don't know her history. I just randomly started interviewing her. And like one of the things that she was saying is like, oh, well, this is good and this is good and all these things. And I'm just like, maybe they don't know about the information. Maybe they don't know it exists. Maybe they need their handheld filling out the application forms. There's something missing in this equation. If you have a theory that it's working and it's not visually working, then you're missing something, right? And so I just needed to investigate where the disconnects are, right? And like she was like, grumpy about it, but like I did more investigation, right? Because one of the residents I talked to was like, my water nearly killed me. I'm like, that's a concern, right? And so, but I talked to the city hall. They're like, we got great water. I talked to a few other people. We got drinking water. I'm like, okay, but why did this person say this then, right? They believed what they said. So I'm investigating that. And then I found out recently they actually switched over from like their local water source to a different water source. And during that time, they might have shut off the water and made people not use their water. Okay. And if that's the case, then great. The water's great. But that person still drank bad water. What does that mean? It means your emergency systems of alerting your fellow citizens is not working, right? So the water could be fine, but your technology is behind if that's the case, right? And so, and how are we going to find these solutions unless we actually start asking questions, digging for answers, finding solutions, and implementing them? We could talk about
doing
who
the
did what all day long, but it's not going to solve the problem, right? Your story doesn't align with my story. Grr, grr, grr. Okay,
who cares?
that's fine.
Yeah. I like that. It's like we have to move from a politics of rage to a politics of solutions. And like
Bingo.
Personally, I just thought Sanders was a politics of rage, and Yang was a politics of solutions. Call it what you will, but you can. What do you think, Josh?
I did the investigation on the ground.
Listen,
he talked to the people.
Here's the
finding
thing.
the issues. Go ahead.
And here's the thing, like listen, here's the bottom line. America is on the operating table. You're about to put through surgery, and one mistake will screw everything up. It's like a game of Jenga, where you're stacking these blocks or whatever, and you're taking it out from like the middle, and you gotta do it gradually or the right way, or it's gonna collapse. You can't be too fast. You can't be too slow. It requires lots of precision. All right, and we need a leader who was about that. It's like, okay, let's do this the right way. Let's find ways to like get what we want. But if you rush it, you're definitely going to not only make a mistake, but you're going to forget something very crucial, very important. So hey, of course if I'm going to rely on somebody to get that sort of stuff done, I'm gonna go with the Asian guy who likes math because he did his homework. He's talked to the right people. He has a multitude of policies that are like pretty simplistic, pretty practical and straightforward. And it's like, and the thing about like even like universal basic income, it's like that actually leads, like when that's implemented, it actually makes implementing Medicare for all and higher wages
100%
much easier.
Let me just interject. We have a person who'd like to join us. His name is Dad Bod. Chill, do you see him on the?
I'll send him a link to the Discord, but first I want to address a question from our Twitch chat.
Okay.
BitBagel asks, should Yang have pushed harder for Bernie, being a former Bernie supporter, before going right to endorsing Biden? And I say yes, absolutely should have pushed harder for Bernie before skipping right to Biden. Huge difference. I would have been like thrilled to vote for Yang and happy to vote for Bernie. Instead of, I did not vote for Biden. I voted for Howie Hawkins. Biden's a monster. He's just as bad as Trump.
The thing is, I don't understand why Bernie didn't adopt UBI. Yang just said that. Yang just says, like, you adopt UBI, boom,
Yes.
I'm right behind you. And
Right,
Bernie didn't do it. He would have done it now.
Mhm.
You know what? Like, this pandemic came at, like, the best time and the worst time. If it came while Yang was running, could you imagine what a difference that would have made? It had to wait until he was done, and maybe the pandemic was just like, okay, you dumbasses, here I come. Should have voted for Yang.
Can I comment?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course.
I was just going to ask you a question.
Let's let our guest.
Go ahead and comment.
I wanted to comment on what Faye was saying, and I think that Andrew Yang addressed that. Like, you're talking about the disconnect about people's information. Like, one set of person has this set of reality, and someone else has a different set. And I think, again, it goes back to the conglomeration of the mainstream media, and there not being local journalism, and so the local towns they don't really know what's going on locally, and so they're just hearing whatever mainstream media conglomerate, be it Fox News or MSNBC, that they're listening to, and that's why you see the disconnect.
And those stations are full of bile. It's just 24/7 bile.
Yeah,
and a bubble. It's also an information bubble. I wanted to ask
bile bubble. That's like the worst.
I wanted to ask Josh if you're talking to a fellow progressive, what is the step-by-step that you use to get them from their bubble and bias to a more Yang positive, UBI positive stance?
Wow, that's a crazy question. I mean, it's a great question, but it's crazy complex. I think the first thing is, just trying to see if they're open to information in the first place, and just kind of present them your side of the story. And if they're not like latching on with any interest, you just sort of move on, because otherwise you're just going to get into a big argument. But beyond that, I think just presenting your argument, your side of the story, why you think Yang is not going to threaten the system in the long run, like how the UBI can actually help toward strengthening our goals toward Medicare for all, because then we can start focusing on other things. Like, when Medicare for all public option is one step toward Medicare for all, a UBI is one step toward people being able to take advantage of the social system networks, because there's less people having to rely on it. Therefore, you have more money to use to those that are not currently getting it. So you just think in terms of how they're going to benefit from Yang's programs is ultimately the way I try to address it.
There are a lot of other things we have to address besides just Medicare for all, and even like universal basic income. First off, there's the corruption, and you have like big corporations with big pharma and stuff, and the people don't have any power. They don't have a say so. Even if we get angry, we rage or whatever, they're just going to laugh at us. They blow us off. So how can we get power into the people? And so like when I saw, like forced to vote trend or whatever, and they say like, oh, it only pushing Medicare for all. I got so upset, because I'm like, what about, well, not just universal basic income, but what about ranked choice voting, democracy dollars, value-added tax, human-centered capitalism, or a system that works for us, and getting paid for data. These various other ideas that actually help us get a bigger voice and bring power back to us, rather than just pushing one idea. There are exceptions like UBI, like Casually, because it's like it's pretty easy to like just give people money, but it's like, like these other things, like it's a process, because right now people aren't thinking about these other ideas like Medicare for all and climate change and reparations and stuff. They're thinking about their next bill. So it's like, we got to help them pay that bill, and then once that's done, then people will just wake up and be like, oh man, we got to deal with this other stuff.
Trust government, and we keep handing them the money. That seems to be part of the issue, right? But if you do something like crowdsourcing, like you would for a politician, but you do it for an average citizen that's willing to do the work, that's willing to do the activism, the investigation, and we have Patreon. We can do this. I am proof of concept of it, right? And you can actually make real change by putting your money where you really should put your money.
I really think that what you're saying, Faye, it's just we have been indoctrinated into this culture of trusting our institutions. It's so funny you call it like institutionalized, because it's like, like it goes back. Don't talk to strangers. Trust the people with the uniforms on and the official people and all that stuff. And it's just been it's a really stupid culture. And then we see that these people with their uniforms or their official titles can really just be incompetent morons. It's like, and your friend who's your neighbor, who's been your friend online, are better than a person with a uniform on or a person with an official title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think.
Let's for a new guest real quick. Hello, thanks for coming on.
Hi, Boris.
Getting to what Izzy was saying, what I call demand or rage politics. About that. I think Izzy's right on target. We're spending so much of our effort and time demanding from the Democrats or the GOP, what we feel we need or want, which we do, but they're not really responding because they have a different worldview and it's a different set of values than our own. Whereas I think it makes more sense to spend that energy and effort, like Karen's saying, on figuring out how we can have like saloons and activism and things like that and grow the grassroots forward and get into.
And Josh, remember, I came to you as like a former Trump supporter. So right now, when I'm looking at the GOP, they might as well be living on Mars. This is just beyond idiotic. Trump asks for that $2,000, and we have Wrinkles McStupid ass always messing things up and always holding things up, and he has to go in the trash. Okay,
I'm still in that.
I to get that out there.
And I want our guest that just came on to have a chance to talk and say what's on your mind. You wanted to come on.
So do I have to?
Oh,
do I have to click push to talk then?
If that's how you set it up. If by default, you should not have to, but if you set it that way, you may have to. Anyway, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, just, I don't know, trying to see what you guys are talking about. I'm not really too politically affluent until this past year, so I guess I've...
Where are you, by the way?
Phoenix.
Nice.
ASU.
Cool.
So...
Okay, nice.
So what got you interested in politics for the first time?
Yeah.
Well, I tutor at ASU, and I don't know, I just noticed that there's been a lot more, at least in my experience, there's been a lot more actually censorship. I feel like people say what they want.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get there's a difference between, just being an asshole versus, saying what's authentically on your mind. And that's kind of got me into it. It's just like, being able to say things without having to worry about, someone trying to like.
Are you new to Yang and all that stuff, or you just like kind of found out?
Yeah, I kind of found out through this.
Okay, cool.
And I mean, you're in the right place, man.
Yeah, you're in the right place.
About podcast is we're actually like a think tank of individuals from like all walks of life trying to find systematic level changes to heal our country, right? And like, so even though we don't necessarily have Yang here, right, we have been able to create our own chapter in order to talk about great ideas, learn from each other, right? We've developed skill sets because we had to, right? And we've also developed a sense of community because we hang out with each other. And, I think these are important steps to making change too, is we have to find our team, right? Before we can even do the work. But if we need to learn what the work is, we better have people we can talk to. And sometimes in this world, we're so isolated, we don't get this opportunity. And I think a podcast like ours is a great opportunity to learn collectively things we didn't get in school. We get to learn things from different social classes, different life experiences, things you would never find in school, right? And you know what? We can cuss while we do it, right? We can be authentic and real and human, and our cameras might cut off or our mics might be crap, right? And so we're just like proving that we can, or internet, but we're proving it has to be done and can be done, and in its own way it can inspire so many more people to do it. And when we bring in new individuals, they start learning the technology, right? And now maybe they have a chance to have a voice because they had practice at it, right? A lot of our guests download Discord for the first time in their life, but Discord's a powerful tool for a lot of people, especially if you like gaming. Hell, why not? And so I think like I personally fucking love this podcast and everybody that I've met, right? And I feel like I'm just tickled how many people I know that are actually trying to make real change. And it just breaks my heart that we don't have funding, right? But guess what? We can learn from each other. Like, hey, where's a lead to get funding here? Like, what's the lead to follow to get like corruption out of politics? And it's just fucking beautiful, guys. So I just want to say thank you, YangGang.
Awesome. I want to ask Billy, man boy, can you hear me?
It's I gotta change.
Oh, you cut out. Sorry, you cut out. You're not.
You gotta change the.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
I'll change your name for the server. What should I change your name to?
Maybe thought this was a silence movie.
We can't hear you.
We did for the first 2 seconds, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
You might be in just too windy an area.
Let Belly Man Boy speak.
Maybe maybe when you're speaking, try to stand still, see if that makes a difference. Maybe because you're moving, it's coming in and out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, that's good.
Okay, all right.
I was just curious,
yes,
what attracted you or interested you in Andrew Yang and his campaign?
I was just looking for political discussions because I have a really, really long day, and I just wanted to pass time up. And I usually kind of surf around and look for something, and I had no idea that you can actually use Discord to do this. I guess it's kind of like a Zoom thing, right?
Same thing. It's a video chat client like anything else.
Yeah.
So you weren't specifically looking for YangGang content. You were looking just for political content, and you found us. So that's cool.
Just nothing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really, just more generic, kind of see where the conversation goes.
Yeah, that's nice. So. It's good to get, voices from outside of our own echo chamber. So what do you think about Andrew Yang? What do you think about the Yang campaign? What do you think about the concept of universal basic income? What do you think?
Universal basic income. You'll have to explain that to me.
Really? All right.
Oh wow.
Well, universal basic income is an economic policy whereby everyone in a nation or state or municipality of some size receives a flat amount of money. This prevents abject poverty. It stops people from falling below a certain level of quality of life. It's very efficient. It's not means tested at all. Everyone gets it. It's also a culturally unifying thing because we all have more of a stake in our own nation, which is valuing us by giving us money so we can contribute to it. So what do you think of that concept? $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month for every American. What do you think?
What are the conditions to that? Because, my first instinct is to, say, oh, that sounds good, but how much of it's going to come out of our taxes?
None of it. So I think there are a lot of disagreements about how this should be, a lot of debate about how it can be paid for, but there are a few ways that work. I think the best way is to do what they've been doing with these bailouts, where by fiat, Mnuchin in the Federal Reserve will create currency and just give it to big businesses. I think he should create currency and give it to Americans because we are a fiat currency. We're not backed by gold or anything. And the world invests in us and keeps us a valuable currency, so it's not going to devalue our currency by doing this thing that will stimulate our economy. So it doesn't even cost any tax dollars. We do it a special way. What do you think?
Yes, sounds good.
Awesome.
And also, to follow up what Shill was saying. as far as like paying, it's like the worry about, whether or not we could pay for UBI and stuff. Well, the thing about it is this, we do know that the ones at the top and, the Jeff Bezos and the Warren Buffetts and Bill Gates of America, like they aren't paying their fair share, unlike us, and we're giving our taxpayer dollars to them, to these politicians and stuff. They're not doing their job. They're not, and there's some of them are like dodging taxes and stuff. So they should, pay their share. Also with like data or whatever. It's like like how they on Facebook and whatnot, they use your private information to like make a profit off of and use to, I guess, to filter as to what sort of relative stuff, marketing and stuff. So it's like, if they're going to make a profit off of us, surely we could get some of that money. It's like when how some music's like, you like if you want to use it in like your videos or like your podcast or whatever, you got to pay a certain amount, royalties and stuff. It's the same concept here. So it's like, so then like once we address all that, and again, that's why we got to deal with this. We got to like somehow address this corruption and make the system worse for us, and also update the GDP so we'll know for sure what exactly is going on. So it's like,
let him respond.
Yeah.
So coming off the GDP as our economic standard is one of the most important ways to kind of start transitioning away from this very capitalistic system that we've been under for so long, because that standard was picked inadvertently, almost as a way for them to kind of figure out how to build themselves out of the Great Depression, and it was all about resetting the stock market. And ultimately, if that's the basis of your economy, our stocks, and supporting businesses that way, it's inherently unstable, because businesses open and close. And businesses were never intended to kind of be these eternal beings that they've turned into. They were supposed to have very limited charters of 21 years. And in order to extend that charter or have that charter renewed, there had to be basically a committee vote of like the city council or wherever you established your business to evaluate, do you still, is there still a benefit to having this corporation exist? And if there is no longer a benefit, or if you are engaging in illicit business practices, deceitful business practices, if you're scamming people, if people are being injured by the way that you do your business, if your corporate hog farm has now polluted the water and you refuse to clean it up, even though you keep being cited for it, even though you keep being fined for it, you just pay the fine and continue to pollute. Like, then you don't get your charter renewed. That business, by law, then must be dissolved. The same way that Chapter 1, Chapter 7, Chapter 31 bankruptcy would go.
When did they switch it to the from 21 or whatever years to like what it is now?
I don't know. I mean, and I think it's in there, and I think it happened quite some time ago. I don't think it lasted very long. I think those charters ended up being manipulated. So I don't even know if that's more of a modern era thing, or if that happened even pre-industrial revolution.
For the evolution of actual businesses, though, like to evolve away from oil to something that's better, right? There's a transition that can happen if you let certain things die. We used to have a bunch of horses in the streets, taking shits all over in a big city, and they're like, uh-oh, what are we gonna do with all this horse shit, right? And then we have cars now. Now that's not even a problem we have to consider because we've evolved, right? But now we have this other issue like gasoline. Okay, well, that's not good. We figured that one out, right? But we don't know how to evolve from gasoline to something else because these businesses are now these titans, right? How do you take down a titan? Well, you know, we have to evolve.
Well,
I think
I think the answer then goes back to the revolutionary tactics that have been successful that we've used, which is what we're doing now, which is some grassroots organizing and talking to people, to everybody. It's no longer about partisan politics. This is about human politics.
Right.
This is and dare I say revolutionary politics. We're having the same kinds of conversations, and we're saying many of the same things that our founders said before the revolution.
That's great. Just like my channel, Revolutionary Thinking. But I think that now that our guest is here, what do you think that did you let's find something that'll touch his life, like personally. Like, by the way, did you get that $1,200 check? Let's ask about that. Billy, did you get the stimulus, the one that they passed back in March when this whole pandemic happened? But we can't. You muted yourself because if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Yes, I did. I did get it.
Okay, you did get that. What did you? Since you haven't heard of UBI and you haven't heard of Andrew Yang, what did you think when that was going on? When that check, where you like, oh no, socialism, we're all gonna be like lazy and we're not gonna work anymore. Like, what did or did you think that this is something that'll help at a time when people are struggling? Like, what was going through your mind when that whole thing was happening?
No, I just thought it's something, to put away. Luckily.
Wait, you
we took
cut out again.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
You said luckily, and then we didn't hear the rest of that.
God, this thing sucks. No, I said luckily my wife and I had jobs, but it was just a means for us to put the check away. I didn't really think anything about socialism.
There you go. And the thing is that if that happened every month, would you still be working your job?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
If you have a real job and you contribute to society and you're paid fairly for it, you still want to do it even if you have $2,000 a month, because that's not that much fucking money.
I mean,
and you know what? If you hate your job so much that you'd rather live on $2,000 a month, everyone in the country is overall going to have a better time if you do that. Nobody wants you miserable doing a shitty job at your shitty job. Nobody wants you miserable at home because you hate your shitty job. And nobody wants you like out on the street because you don't have $2,000 to pay your rent. You should have your rent paid, you have $2,000, and then you find a job that you can do. Everyone's going to do that unless they can't. That's how humans are.
Technically speaking, universal basic income is like a typical, getting paid for work and stuff, because we're all workers. We all contribute to society in some way. This is our compensation, Yeah. So, I mean, that's another argument to use. But
and we're not getting paid for doing this and talking to you and like keeping people entertained and like informing them. Like what do you think that informing people and putting on a podcast and entertaining people is unpaid work? But do you think that it's fair that it's unpaid work? Or we can just provide people with a UBI so they can contribute to society in whatever way they want. Talking because we can't hear you. Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, that's for you. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, do you think it's unfair that you're not getting paid to? I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Oh no. I'm saying like we love doing this, but we're not getting paid for it at the moment. But the thing is that if we all got a universal stipend, it wouldn't stop us from still doing this, still informing people and entertaining people and bringing knowledge and stuff like that. You see, like we could build this out so much more spectacularly and get more people, like people who will go on like long road trips in here and to like talk and all of that stuff. And I view that as work. But the thing is that the market doesn't kind of view it as work. But the thing is that we'd have more of a potential to do these creative, interesting things and contribute to society if that check that you got happened monthly instead of just a one-time thing.
Doesn't Australia do that? Australia does that, right? They give a check like every month or something.
Do they?
Other countries
Australia has
during the pandemic. A lot of countries do. Canada has been giving money to everybody during the pandemic. So our neighbors to the north.
Right.
The French part of Canada. Let's be specific.
Oh, okay. Just come back.
I just wanted to comment real quickly, like getting back to what Izzy said about data. We are working actually, like our data is being used out in the marketplace, and they're making literally trillions of dollars off of our personal data. We should be able to get a portion of that. I mean, it just makes sense. If you're going to use our data and you're going to make money, it's our data, then we should be getting a portion of that.
100%.
And it's one of those things that we talk about, right? And it's just like it should be a thing we do. And like some starting programs are trying to do this kind of data dividend. Like there's an equivalent to Facebook, right? It's called Frey.world. And they pay you. You can get tips for doing good blog writing. You can have like, the more you interact, the more you can earn, right? But like, guess what? Nobody knows about these businesses because they can't afford advertising and marketing. Like, I feel like that seems to be the hang up for here. We don't have commercials where we earn money, right? We don't like pawn off all this like crap that doesn't help us, right? Because some big organization came up with this idea. And instead we give clean, unfiltered information that isn't bogged down with advertisements, and yet we're being punished for that, right? Anyway,
I want to ask Billy, I'm sorry, following up on what Ariel said about how he is providing some kind of qualitative value by doing his program, right? And that, like, should we measure society only based on what corporations deem is to be valuable or profitable that drives society, or are there other things that can contribute to the richness of what a society means? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's easy. I mean, no, I don't think corporations should decide what's important. I mean, we kind of see this in Facebook, censoring certain, this push to talk thing is really annoying. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it should. I think the nice thing about having variance and opinions and views is that it diversifies it. I think corporations and big.
So you like libertarianism then? Sorry.
Say it again.
You like libertarianism? That because I'm a libertarian left. That's where my political compass is. It's like free will and free stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of a libertarian socialist, which sounds like it's a contradiction, but is not.
Well, quiz you guys take to figure out what you are, because honestly,
it's not that important. I mean, an identitarian perspective is kind of a straitjacket, and I think we should avoid it. But if we must,
we should have.
Yeah,
I'm a disaffected Democrat, so I'm in the same boat as Billy.
I'm just like an anti-label guy. I just want my freedom. I just want to do what I want my freedom. I want to do what I love, and I want to surround myself with good friends. And the people who don't like it can just go fuck off. Just leave me alone. Let me be happy and let me be free.
That's what the whole Andrew Yang thing was. It's not left. It's not right. It's just forward.
Exactly.
There's no political identity. Yes. That's one of the reasons why I liked him from the beginning.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody asks what I am, my response is very much like.
I'm sorry. Wait, what's your response?
Okay, push to talk. Stay there now. Okay.
You can turn that off. But yeah.
My response is, we can talk about a particular subject, and then you can ask me where we stand. I don't.
Good, thank you.
Yeah,
that's a very sensible response because people just want to. So many people just want to pigeonhole you in bad faith. They're like, "Oh, you're this. Well, here's my argument for that. Oh, you're this. Here's my argument for that."
Yeah,
They're not really engaging. It's just kind of a status measuring contest.
Once you say like I'm this or I'm that, automatically a lot of people they just completely shut down.
That's why I avoid that phrasing and that framework entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hate that. I can't stand that. It's like I'm an independent thinker. Tell me about what the subject is, and then I'll look at the data and we'll go from there. How's that? You know?
Thank you.
Like
that's why I joined the YangGang, because all we had was just we were just on the same page. We had one goal, and that is to Hey,
so our friend Belly, let me tell you about the censorship. Andrew Yang was simply and conspicuously omitted from infographics, stories, headlines throughout his entire campaign. He would be like number 6 in the polls, and they were just like, "Here's the top 9," and it's like he's just not there. He'd be like just completely, sort of de facto censorship by MSNBC, by CNN. And you call him out on it and be like, "Oh, whoops, it was just a logistical error. We just happen to forget. We forget." And they never forget anybody else, just him. And it happens like 700 times.
Look, we created this, and now people are learning, through this. So it's like it's not that we want like a fight or we want an argument. It's that we're out here and we're letting people.
Yeah, I mean, I got exactly what I wanted after my New Year's. Just I drank in my house. That's it. I had a great time. I hung out with my brother and my roommates.
Didn't have to go nowhere.
No, exactly. It's like one of the best New Year's on record for me. Nothing bad really happened. Other than the.
Back to the start of a new year now.
Yeah, how about you? Get up to anything interesting?
What happened?
Did you get up to anything interesting?
Cool. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
And I tutor.
Nice.
Tutor.
Yeah.
So you got two jobs. Oh man.
Well,
you definitely. Oh, okay.
I wanted to ask you, Billy, like what in your mind, if you had to present like one big solution for America, like what do you think is the biggest problem we face as Americans? And then what would you? I know it's a big question. What would you present as maybe one solution to that?
Learning how to be in the same room with someone that has different ideas than you, no matter how grotesque it is. I mean, that's what our Constitution is based on. And I'd have to say critical thinking skills.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of smart people that are very dumb.
Critical thinking.
You know what I mean? They are very smart. They know a lot, but then they act like little babies when you disagree with them. That's my.
Oh man.
Right. Like rage and demand. Going back to rage and demand politics again, I agree. Like it needs to be about solutions.
Like
finding consensus, talking things out.
You would have loved Yang, man. It's a shame that you didn't hear about him. But hey, better late than never, as they say. And like we're hoping, like when you're done here, tell your friends about us. It'll really help. Just say like, yo, like I just randomly, went online, searched for a political podcast, and like I met all these cool people and stuff. You just like,
Yeah, how about
you don't
that,
have
huh?
to. Yeah.
Well, I want to touch on something too, though, about the whole Andrew Yang thing. So when I went to Iowa to help on the campaign trail, one of the things that they did during training was teaching critical thinking skills, how to actually relate to these people, get interested. They were like literally teaching us how to be good people. And I was like, well, look at you guys teaching humanity first. This is very important. And it was just like part of the training. And it wasn't like, okay, there was some like, okay, you got to kind of tell them what they want to hear. This is what they want to hear and this kind of thing. There was a bit of
Yeah.
manipulation tactics that I didn't like that they were trying to teach as well. But it was also just like,
Liars. Yeah.
listen. I was like, yes. That is what I loved about the Andrew Yang campaign trail. And then it was like, once you were done for the day, you went out and had dinner with all these people and you shared the different food. You got to experience local culture, plus people from all around the United States got to meet each other, right? And so we had these big town people who like maybe even made a lot of money hanging out with the brokest of us, right? And we were having real
It was
conversation.
like a family.
It was
It was like a family. Like, my
it
goodness.
was incredible. And that was just to help on the campaign trail, right? Yeah, I went and I talked to some of the other people, like part of the Bernie campaign and the Biden campaign. And they were like, yeah, I'm like, I'm just working hard and blah, blah, blah. And it was just so work oriented, not family oriented. And I was just like, damn, you're in the wrong camp, man. This is fun over here. Like, I was going to like frat parties, okay? Like, that was just, well, okay, like maybe not frat, but like, was it? I don't know. I was in a college town, right? And to resonate with these people, I literally went into their environment, right? And I got to like drink with them and have fun and talk about the real problems. And it wasn't, necessarily vote for Yang. It was, what are your concerns? Oh, we have some solutions. Like, how do you feel about them? And it was just, it was gold, guys.
And this is why I'm so critical, like when it comes to the YangGang and stuff. Like if I see any sort of people like lying or not following through, or essentially like regressing and going back to their old ways or whatever, I get pretty PO'd because, like you mentioned, we were like a family. We there was no like judgments. There was no like, oh, I'm not sure if you deserve any sort of help, or we're just going to pick this person instead of that person, or because there was none of that when I went to the Chicago rally. There was none of that. And I recall like when I was like asking for a ride home and stuff, one guy gave me money, said, hey, consider this a dividend. And another guy that I haven't known for years, he said, hey, I'll give you a ride back. There was no like, oh, I'm so sorry you feel this, but I'll pray for you. There was none of there wasn't like, call this hotline or get a job like everybody else. They were like, okay, let's help you out. Boom. They didn't do that to the guy on the boardwalk when he was playing harmonica. Yeah.
Well, just a great example.
They were consistent. They had a strong drive.
Izzy, I was there. The Santa Monica one at the boardwalk. I had a megaphone. That nice. One. Oh my God. Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Example though. Yesterday, I wanted to help with the universal basic income car parade for the Senate runoff, right? Like, I mean, they were trying to promote people that we care about, right? But the interesting thing about it was I went there. I drove 3 hours from Alabama into Georgia. I was like, well, it was a 3-hour drive. I personally, I'm okay driving back tonight, but I can't afford a place to stay. Is there anybody who can house me? And they're like, well, maybe this person. But if that doesn't work, I got some money from a fundraiser. We can put you in a hotel. We got you covered. You might even have a promo code. The YangGang paid for a hotel for me last night. That's essentially what it boils down to. They made sure I had somewhere to stay. That's incredible, right? And
that's really what I've been asking for.
That's what, like, I went on this 3-hour drive with faith enough that the YangGang would take care of me. And if they didn't, that's okay too, right? I could take care of myself, but I was like, I'll probably be okay, right? But like, in any other circumstance outside of the YangGang, I could have never been able to do that. I was traveling the United States by myself for a year, right? And there was no guarantee that if I went to a different town, I would have somewhere to stay no matter what, especially if I was doing good work, you know? And it's just incredible. I feel like I found family. I feel like I found stability just in case something goes wrong, like my truck breaking down, right? People from all over the world donated to me, and it was because of Andrew Yang and the YangGang. All right, and I was able to make sure I had food in my belly. I got truck repairs, and I got like a roof over my head. They helped pay for our hotel for a few days. That's the power of the YangGang, you know, and like that's why I call myself crowdfunded, because the YangGang takes care of their people, right? And they believe I'm doing the work. They see the work that I've been doing, and so they have faith in me a little bit, right? But they're just like, you're one of our people. If something happens to you, that would look really bad too. Right?
Yeah, that's why I thought, you know, because like this like when again, like I went to the Chicago rally and I've seen everything that this group has done, and I'm like, holy shit, I hit the jackpot, you know. And then after Yang dropped out, it seemed like all that just dissipated, and people just started, you know, going their own separate ways and started like making these various forms of like division, and they were essentially like pushing people like me off to the side, when we have as much of an importance and a big voice as everybody else.
Right. Yeah. That's what I remember that I did like something at a college for Yang with these people, and like later that day we were supposed to go to like do a Tesla event to like canvas for Yang. And then that was the same exact day where his what's the name? His New Hampshire results were coming in, and he suspended. And then like they said, oh yeah, we're not doing that event. What's the use? He's not in the thing. But the events were more than just like, hey, look at Yang. It was like, hey, like let's be friends. Like Yang led into different conversations and different kind of friendships than just $1,000 a month. And like the day he dropped out was kind of like the day the magic kind of died. It's kind of died. Like all that stuff kind of died. But now we're reviving it. I think we're reviving it because like
slowly,
like some of these former these former YangGang guys, they've just been steeped in that partisan politics that makes people into assholes. And like we got to come out of that again. Just because Yang is no longer running doesn't mean we have to be partisan assholes again. You know, because it's like once you see the light, it's just there. Just because he dropped out doesn't mean you don't see it anymore.
Okay, so you talked about when he dropped out, right? I was actually working with people within the YangGang to actually do an event at this building that we had free reign to do an art project, right? And I was like, well, shit, my truck's kind of its own art project, right? And I wanted to like tell the story of my travels and the things people do. I wanted to like send a message, and I had been collecting like all the different Yang stickers and Yang buttons that people collect. I mean, I saw lots of Yang shrines. I'm not gonna lie, right? But like the thing is, like it was so beautiful and I just wanted to share it. But when he dropped out, they canceled the event, right? I have never had the opportunity to do an art like galley like that at all without the YangGang, right? And because he dropped out, I lost that opportunity. That hurt me, right? And so I was excited, and then this opportunity dissolved, and maybe I wasn't even ready. Things are going to happen for whatever reason, right? We can't change them, but we can accept them, right? And do something for that.
The other thing I thought that was absolutely disgusting is that after Yang dropped out, and this is what really like said, okay, I'm done with y'all. And that was when the Bernie bros were all like, so when are you going to endorse Bernie? When are you going to endorse Bernie? When are you going to endorse Bernie? Like every second, not giving us a chance, because like this was more than a candidate to us. Like this was like our brother. This is like our family, our fathers, like someone that we can hang out with. Like and these people are acting like, oh, just get over it. Like we gonna endorse Bernie, and then when he endorsed Biden, he said, "Fuck all y'all. You ain't shit. We didn't need your endorsement anymore." I'm like, "Fuck you."
It's so inauthentic, and it's so transactional. And I think that's what it's like. Do you want to be my friend without an ulterior motive? Do you want to be my friend just because we're decent human beings and we want to enjoy each other's
I've dealt
company?
with so many people like that. So many.
Or do you just want to, or do you just have some ulterior motive? And when that ulterior motive is like gained, it's like, okay, like bye, you know, because that is the world of sales, of high pressure sales, pretend friendships,
and competition
people,
and
just
competition
and conditioning and like hating and pushing. And once the sale closes, it's like you're nobody to me. You're bye.
Well, I mean, I think
it's like thing, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the end, it you know, like it came back because Bernie didn't end up winning. You know, because when you're not out there reaching out to people to build alliances
Mhm.
and bringing progressives together in this case, then yeah, I mean, so we just need to learn from that and not carry the animosity with us into the future, and understand that we have to keep an open mind about, you know, where Yang is in the polling and what's the likelihood he's going to win, and are we going to get behind a candidate that we think is going to definitely win versus is it going to be Yang? I mean, most definitely we would like for it to be Yang, but we don't want to carry that same mindset that it's got to be Bernie or nothing, you know, and I'm done with you.
Right.
And like Ariel is
Right.
saying, you know, it's just transactional and that's it.
What you have to say about
Because
that? I mean,
work.
you're right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to jump in because Andrew Yang's changed. I mean, he's always at that front edge, right? So his front edge is, I'm going to run for mayor of New York, which has a lot of people going, what? Well, aren't you going to, you know, you're coming out of national politics. And I'm in New Mexico. I mean, so the whole discussion about New York, it's pretty far. And people from the coast consider us flyover country. So there's a disconnection there. But this came up in debate about how do we support him being a mayor. And I've kind of got in a tiff with people, as you do often on Twitter, that do some of us in full flyover country are not in New York or not in the city, right? Just the state. How do we support that? Can we support that? And how do we do that without intimidating the local people? But I kind of made the point, and I don't know, it goes around, is the fact that New York is a weird city in itself. It's kind of its own, it's like its own fire that makes its own weather kind of thing. And that is, if there were a city besides LA that could actually finance its own full to partial basic income, New York is one of the ones that could. It seems to me that the federal effort has not been going through. The governors have not taken an interest in basic income, but the next phase of it and the next wave of it is the mayors. We had Michael Tubbs in Stockton. We had the mayor of Chicago. We're getting mayors all over the place. So city by city, the ones that had
the mayor
to
of Chicago does it. I just want to say, Karen, the mayor of Chicago,
yes.
Lightfoot, she does not care about UBI. She in her words, she likes to teach a man how to fish.
Yeah, I understand. So there was words to that effect is better than nothing, I guess is what I'm saying. So he's moving to the mayoral thing because the mayors of cities have had to be the literal front line for the pandemic.
Well, yeah. I think well, it's a long tradition that mayors of New York constantly run for president. So he just did the reverse.
Yeah,
I think he's interested in New York being a vanguard of these ideas. I mean, obviously he gets to talk about it in a high-profile way, but literally, how that could really make some tangible, on the street,
absolutely,
localized. So it's localized.
Right. It's like the
so
biggest
we're saying we want a federal basic income, but the city itself, you could read the changes on the ground so much easier in New York. So I think he's the boss. He's always thinking ahead that way. So I think that trying to support him, of course, is to echo, what the locals are saying. But the locals and most people are still quite uninformed yet of the structural change that a basic income could do. And I think he's right ahead, like he always is, as a solutionist with the Swiss Army knife that is UBI.
I agree with Karen. I think it was a smart move to run for New York City because he could run the biggest UBI pilot in the world. And if he's able to pull that off, I mean, like that's going to translate really well if he does go national, and runs for president again.
There's that one video where you had those buff guys who were given various people in, like, I think that was New York City, $1,000 cash. So it's like they have a sense to, they got a taste of UBI and stuff. So it's like, yeah, I'm definitely on board with him becoming mayor. I mean, I hope it's possible, and like he doesn't like it doesn't like taint him or anything. Like, he stays true to himself. That's my big thing. He stays true to him, because like I'm still supporting him, because when he said he's going to give people money, he did just that. I got the 250 micro grant from Humanity Forward. Like he said, give people money, and like during his campaign, he could have just disappeared. But he didn't. He stood true to his word, and it's like those sorts of people I respect, that I stick with. If you follow through, or you find any sort of alternative, be consistent and stuff, be honest, be humble, don't act like that you're the greatest, and anybody who gives you any sort of critique or whatever is against you, or is talking back, or is full of crap or whatever. So it's like we need more people like that.
Yeah, he's showing like the new path forward to doing politics. This old way, 1960s does not work in 2020. 1770 doesn't work in 2020.
Right.
2020 works in 2020.
Right.
He's showing us that new
And
path.
if you are being critiqued, is it like a legitimate critique, or is it just a critique from some clout chasing jerk who just like wants to make a spectacle? There's a difference between an honest critique and just a critique because some guy just wants attention, and the only way they get attention is to be
there's this between constructive criticism and insults, and disagreements and insults, because and it pisses me off when I hear people, who say like, oh, I just had a disagreement and they attacked me, with just completely downplaying what has transpired, when what they literally did was an insult, and then we come after them. They're like, oh, it was just disagreements, that gaslighting and stuff, and when if someone says, like, even if they tell me that I suck, as long as they say, okay, do this, do that better, okay, that's criticism. But if you trash my self-esteem, whatever, and then walk away, with a smug attitude, well then, you're not helping at all. And you could try to play the victim and say like, oh my goodness, I'm such a bad person because I was just telling them that they did this wrong, and all of a sudden I'm the Grinch. Oh my goodness, it's all my fault. I mean, I've dealt with those people so many times. No, I want to see more Andrew Yangs who are like, they take criticism and are like saying, no, you're right, let's improve on that. They're not gonna like, how dare they talk to the almighty Andrew Yang and stuff. It's like, come on, we've dealt with that. We dealt with enough of that.
It seems to me like, because the politicians are so busy having to chase money all the time, because there's always another election coming up, that they've stopped being able to listen to constituents. And I think that some of these people that get into politics genuinely want to do right. But then that is that edge for the corruption to come in of, now it's all corporate backed politics because of Citizens United, because we don't do only public campaign financing. Like,
that's why we need ranked choice voting and democracy dollars.
Yeah.
So
tell Billy about.
I mean, so like those reforms definitely need to happen. The issue is like, how do we get them to happen? Because obviously the cards are stacked against us. So then I think, and that's what I hear us saying over and over and over again.
So Billy, democracy dollars is basically everybody getting $100 that they can only use for political campaigns and donations. So it washes out all the corporate money. What do you think? So that means you get $100 every, I think, was it month, to spend only on
it's an actual election season. So it's whatever that election season.
Every election season. Yeah. Every election season, so you can support any kind of like political idea or something that you choose to. So but you can only use it for a lot of people. Purposes. You can only use it. Yeah, you can only use it for political purposes, because if a lot of people are looking at that PS5 and donating to politics, I'm sure they're going to go for that PS5.
And I do want to follow up with that because like it can also help with like the whole force of voting, like oh, if you don't stick it to Nancy Pelosi and push for Medicare for all, but then you're not for the people. I mean, here's the thing with democracy dollars, and like if you're getting millions of dollars from the people, first of all, you definitely have no excuses because it's like, yeah, you don't have any favors. You're not like getting any money from the lobbyists or whatever. The lobbyists are the American people. So when Mama Bear tries to like, turn you down, you can tell her to F off, because I'm with the people, because you have that financial backing, you have that support. But like when there's no like democracy dollars or any form or whatever, then not only does the people not have like any much power, but also these people who are supposed to represent us, they can't really work in our benefits. I mean that's my perspective on it.
So I want to chime in a couple things. I will get to a Twitch question that's kind of related, not quite yet, but first I'm going to go with what I want to say. So I am starting a nonprofit with somebody who's also part of our podcast, right? It's going to be called the Commonality Project. But I think a powerful tool that could be used with this nonprofit is to practice things like ranked choice voting and democracy dollars and other like things, because the problem is there's going to be kinks in the system. It needs to be tried out. People need to learn how to do it in a place where it's not so critical, right? And if you practice these things in combination with helping crowdfund activists, you've essentially created the government that you would rather have in the first place, right? And you just recreate it with the ways you want instead of trying to like pry open an old system that's fucking not letting you play along, right? But in addition,
right. And that's full of like rot and bile and filth. Go ahead, Vin.
Right? Like it's already corrupt. Right. Why don't we just do it? I mean, and then do it where it's safe, right? Such as this nonprofit. But anyway, that's just a comment I want to make. So our Twitch has a comment or a question for Josh here. So would you consider yourself a nerd for Yang since you were interviewed, or nerd for humanity? What is that? Is that what she said? Anyway, but like, because the follow-up question is, have you watched Naruto at all?
Yeah, I did.
Well, there's
back in 2000s, 2000 something.
Well, there's an episode where there's a kid that it's like a money jitsu, right? Essentially, he's like, look, I can do stuff too. And he just like throws money on like a puddle of water, right? And a bunch of like men jump on the puddle and he just walks over them, right? It's a money jitsu, right? And oh, I'm in trouble.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. Well, it's available on Crunchyroll.
Is this a filler?
No, I think it's one of the newer, like not the original season or whatever, like different. Anyway, I only watched part of it.
A filler.
But yeah, maybe, yeah. But yeah. So, what's your thoughts on like people just throwing money and people just jumping on it when it's not really, I don't know, solving the problem on an individual level, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I did eventually join the YangGang. So absolutely, I'm a Nerds for Yang guy now, because a lot of the problems are like, just a good example is the social safety nets. It only helps like 20-30% of people that actually need it. Whereas you get direct cash, then obviously you can do what you need to do with it, and it's costs just about the same. So why, a lot less bureaucracy, a lot less stigmatization, stigma, and it's universal. So absolutely.
I think one of the biggest
no-brainer to me. I don't know.
Right? It all seems like a no-brainer to me.
We're just in this cultural moment where we can't do anything in America. It's like, we can't do anything we haven't done. That would be un-American, no matter what it is. That's just kind of
basically, like you're saying, it is a 20th century solution that we still are trying to apply to 21st century. And we're wondering why that solution that didn't solve all the problems in the 20th century is somehow going to solve all the problems for the 21st century. It's not going to work. The problems that we had then, we're just going to carry with us into the new century. We need new solutions.
And see, that's why I think this nonprofit that I've talked about is a good way forward. Another organization that I'm partnering with is called Karma Credit Cryptocurrency.
Wow,
and
you're
essentially
busy. That's great.
Yeah, well, and yet nobody knows about me. That's the more fascinating thing.
We'll
I
have to
do
bring you
so
on my
much.
channel. We'll bring you on my channel. I have about 20,000 subscribers. So
well, that's much more than I have.
Yeah, there you go. Get her on Nerd and get Tom in here. Where's Tom? Tom from Nerd for Yang.
Yeah. Well,
before anybody goes any
Can I
further,
get a spot in there too?
Can I just say something?
Wait. Go ahead. Hang on. Let him talk. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to let Belly follow up from the question that we had asked him. We didn't give him a chance about democracy dollars before we go further.
I'm like 10 conversations later, man. Okay. Sorry, you're gonna have to ask the question again. I'm like trying to keep track. I want to respond to one thing and then
Ariel did a really good description. Can you explain that again, Ari? You did far better than I can.
Okay. So basically, you get like $100 every election season. I don't know how long they are, but it's only used to like give to like a person or idea, a politician or a political cause that you believe in every election season.
Okay. So you get money. Where do you get it from? The $100?
You get 100 every season, but it's only to be used. It can't be used for like a PlayStation. It's only to be used for political purposes.
Oh, people are gonna find loopholes though.
Well, the thing is, it's like it's for vouchers, so you can only use
like
it
a
for
voucher.
that. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, like let's say if you bought like a gift card, then like if somebody bought a kid a gift card, the kid doesn't have the receipt to go back and say like, hey, I just wanted regular money. So okay, so go ahead.
And the whole idea is it's supposed to even out the power of Citizens United and like lobbyists and corporate America that dominates the political. And so everybody gets $100. That's supposed to help give the people the voice.
Yeah,
but not to use on like new shoes and stuff.
Right. I'm guessing you guys are against the electoral college then too, right? I mean, it's kind of like, what's the point of us voting if we have an electoral college?
Electoral college?
He's asking about popular vote versus electoral.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So I mean, that'd be really cool. Then you could actually, so it could be.
That's a ranked choice voting comes in, and I mean, we shouldn't just eradicate electoral college, because there is like a some reason as to why the electoral college is there, and but the idea is to make sure that our votes do count, and they're not like being shut out, or that'll especially help with third parties, because they don't get much coverage.
Can I just chime in real quickly, because I think it's important to point out that Andrew Yang is neither for the electoral college or the popular vote. He has what's called in the middle of the road, it's called the proportional system. And so every district gets like an electoral itself instead of the state. And so that allows more representation, like in a state that maybe, like sort of shifting away from the swing, politics. And every state, therefore, everybody in that state feels like their voice is being heard. So it's proportional.
Right. It's really important too, no matter kind of where we are on the political spectrum, to keep in mind that proportional representation helped us when we were a younger nation, because there were more political parties across the spectrum involved on all levels of government as a result. So if you get 30% across the state voting for a socialist or a socialist party or a socialist candidate, then you're guaranteed kind of proportionally 30% of that state's house. So those end up becoming very big kind of transformative issues. But certainly since the end of World War II, the Republicans and the Democrats both have gone into each state and changed kind of election laws to prevent that. And proportional representation is one of those many things that they changed to kind of encode only them to be the players.
I kind of want to since we're on the topic of Yang and his ideas, Boris, if it's too personal, you don't have to answer it. But did you ever have like family members or friends that were on like welfare programs and social security or like unemployment and stuff and all those things?
No. I actually came
okay.
from I came from humble beginnings, but then my dad made a lot of money like in high school, stuff like that. So I never experienced that. I'm a typical suburban, whitey. So that's me. But
Okay.
I have been, I was at a point in college where I was only eating like bologna and cheese and stuff like that. So I was definitely humbled. I'm not, I wasn't spoon fed anything. So.
Okay, yeah, that's fine because I was just because but if you did know that those people on those programs would just want like direct cash with no strings attached and you'd get it too, like would that be offensive to you, or you'd be like, okay, let's just
Direct cash again, like I mean, if it's cash, a lot of people. Oh, because my wife works at county hospital, she's a nurse. She sees it like. If I see a homeless person, for example, or someone, poverty, I'll bring them food, right? Giving them cash might not be the best idea because they might use it to get drugs or something else. So giving them, again, like a card that they can use to get groceries or like a voucher or something, you know what I mean?
So I'm gonna chime in here.
Go ahead.
So you talk about giving them food and homeless. Okay. So a little bit about me is I've been traveling the country for 2 years. Okay. During a pandemic is a lot harder. I'm not gonna lie. Okay.
Are you guys all in New Mexico, by the way?
I'm currently in Alabama. Oh,
I'm in California.
California.
Phoenix.
I'm in New York.
New Mexico, not far from the Arizona border, a couple hours.
Well, we're all
Get to
out
Tucson.
west here.
Anybody
in
Chicago?
Chicago.
Shale's in New York.
Oh, we're in Chicago. I'm from Skokie.
And Izzy's in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Kansas
cool.
City here.
Skokie?
Kansas City, right in the middle.
But I wanted to.
I gotta tell you, come to Kansas City.
Okay. All right. Let's let
everybody.
Okay.
So as I've been homeless, quote homeless, I call myself a nomad because I think homeless is actually quite derogatory of a term.
It is, yeah,
because like just because I don't have a home doesn't mean my life is any better or worse, right? Like I'm struggling
Right.
just anyway. But that's neither here. I still use the word homeless as well. But when it comes to doing drugs, right? So in December, I actually did end up in a homeless women's shelter, right? And it was absolutely fucking terrible. But I made friends with some of the women there, and I tried to add value to their lives and stuff as much as I could. But one of the women I made friends with, during the pandemic, they moved them from the shelter into a hotel, right? And so two of the women that I had made personal connections with knew each other, right? And they both had kids. The one mom, she lost a severe amount of weight, but apparently she was back on drugs, right? This is only hearsay, right? I didn't actually see it, but I did see that she lost weight. And the other friend of mine that had been at the shelter was like, well, she's back on drugs, she's doing drugs, blah, blah, blah. And, I had the opportunity to give her $100, right? And I could not bring myself to do it because I was like, well, she's got kids. Right. And if something happens because she's using that $100 on drugs, maybe she doesn't take care of her kids, maybe and that was my fear. And that kept me from donating to her. Yet, that messed with me because I also know from all the other homeless people that I've met that, they're called coping mechanisms. It's not just a drug, it's a coping mechanism, right? And I gotta say, it is super fucking stressful being out here, especially as a woman trying to do things, right? And yes, it's probably better that my needs are being met, but maybe that cigarette, or I don't smoke cigarettes, but weed or whatever drug they so choose, maybe that's their coping mechanism to handle all the stress happening. But that also inhibits their ability to function, right? So actually it might not benefit them, but but it should be us being able to trust them to spend the money, right? And that's where the universal basic income to me is like, you know what, I'm giving you the money and I trust you to spend it how you need, right? And I trust that you won't be struggling as much because you have a baseline to meet all your inevitable basic human needs. Okay. Now, by that time, they did this experiment with rats, right? One rat had like, I think it was cocaine or whatever, and it was alone, isolated, and it did drugs all the time, right? But then then they give the rat other friends and fun activities to do, right? And it didn't even touch the drug. Okay, so that's what happens when you're homeless, right? You're stuck with only the coping mechanism. But if you had money to go out and have fun and see your friends and do the things that you want to do with them, you probably wouldn't touch the drug. And we're a lot like these rats, right? Like,
Well,
and
I gotta stop you there real quick.
okay.
As far as drugs and stuff like that, sometimes drugs are so powerful, and I studied this in neuroscience. So for addicts, whether it be cocaine or alcohol, there's a certain dopamine surge that you get that's in addicts. I forgot what the wave is called. It's a certain wave. It goes
serotonin.
Yes, but it spikes so high that it makes everything else kind of seem dull. That's why
adrenaline.
No, not adrenaline, but I'll get back to that. But basically, that's why a lot of times you'll see, people drinking alone, like in their worser days, they'll isolate and they'll, do the drug because they don't need any of that stuff. And other times, yeah, it does work. That's why, the opposite of addiction is, what is it? Connection. So anyway, that's kind of an interesting thing.
Right. Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I mean, I'm in healthcare as well. And there is a problem because once you get into those drugs, you have to get your fix. That's basically what you're getting at, and it's not easy. You have withdrawal symptoms and all those kind of problems. But I think that I think that's a problem when we start having those kind of discussions with UBI, because when you think about the homeless people, by and large, most of them are not doing drugs. So we're sort of like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That's a different issue altogether. UBI could actually help far more homeless people than it would hurt those few. And that's a completely different answer anyway. It wouldn't even be about money, like your point really is, Boris.
And I do want to follow up with that because, like, I definitely agree with like what Faye and you Boris are saying, because like, yeah, UBI is like a great distraction to avoid things like drugs and cigarettes and stuff like that. But mentioned
UBI,
was that
the UB, what does that mean?
Universal basic income. Okay, got it. Yeah, universal basic income.
Yeah. And then you mentioned like,
yeah, and then you mentioned like, well, some drugs are so strong that it's hard to like just wean off of it or whatever. And you're right. So I mean, that's where also like Medicare for All comes in. Like all these things, like they overlap each other, and it's not just one thing is going to solve everything or whatever. It's like it's a step-by-step solution.
But it just,
so like
as Karen said, it's like a Swiss Army knife, and all that. Yeah. It's like it's not the solution, but it makes getting to solutions way easier. Go ahead. Yeah.
For most people, because I think Morris's point is still very relevant and important to make, because it could hurt some people more than help. But I still think that in the washout, it helps more people than it hurts, and so that's really the
there needs to be education too, like money management. I know there's a lot of my wife comes from really humble beginnings. She came from the Philippines, moved here really early age, and they lived in a studio for years. And I think this is statistically true. Correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of people that fall into the, that are kind of fall under the poverty line, once they get money, they usually spend it. Versus people in the upper income, I think they usually just put it away. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe money management education would.
I'd like to speak on this point. I would like to speak on this point.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with most of my research that I've been doing, what I've been finding is the reason we're not doing a lot of the things we need to do is because we were never taught, right? Okay, but if you were in poverty and your parents were in poverty, they never taught you money management because they didn't have any, right? How are you going to learn something if it's not even relevant to your life, right? You're not exposed to it. There's no exposure therapy to it.
And what's so awesome is Faye, is that's part of Yang's platform too. Is like he wants to put money into making sure that learning finances and everything is part of the curriculum when you're going through high school and stuff like that. So he wants to expand education so people can start knowing about credit and finances and how to function in life.
Yep.
I want to bring something up about money management because, so you're going to go. Kai, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
No, I interrupted Faye. I actually interrupted
Okay.
Faye. Sorry about that.
But I can go. I can go.
Well, and I was going to say is one of the other things that happens when you're poor and if you're receiving state assistance is you're not allowed to have savings at all.
Right, exactly.
You're limited, like $2,000 or something ridiculous. And it's like, well, then how am I going to get the car? Like, it's
Yes.
kind of weird. So
it's demeaning, is what it is. It's like a
trap.
animal trick. You know, jump
below
through
a certain
the
level, people who are poor have a tendency to do very interesting things with their money. So they'll buy products that, you know, like somebody said earlier, well, if you have the choice to buy a PS5 or make a donation to a political campaign, you're going to buy the thing. That's fun. Well, I know a lot of poor people that will buy those things with the full intent of flipping it, turning it over, but the thing the state can't see, the way that they can look at your bank account and take that money out. So it's demeaning, but then there's this subculture that exists where people broker and bargain all the time. And I think that if we moved off of kind of the means testing welfare system and switched over to a UBI, a more universal based system, we can lift up all of those people who've been operating in that black market like system, because in the long run, all of that kind of hurts the overall goal of everybody having their needs met. Because some people can only get their needs met then by going through the black market, which is not necessarily the best for anybody.
No.
Because they can turn something they trade for food. I think one thing that we've allowed to have happen is a framework that's happened that labels people of what their priorities are without a detailed analysis of what they're doing with whatever resource they have. And I find that lower income people can be quite resourceful. And we should be recognized for the resourcefulness that might be a backwards, strange way of doing it, rather than you go get the money and you go pay for the thing. And I think in the case of homelessness, I don't think that the majority, especially right now, because you're going to have now a whole bunch of people entering homelessness through the eviction process, that we know for sure the origin of the reason why that's happening to them is because we've had a pandemic and no relief. So I think that, but we've had this narrative run for decades. It isn't even true. Homelessness happens I was homeless because I was a domestic violence experiencer. My partner was a homeless vet who had severe PTSD. Neither one of us are drug addicts or drinkers. And yet we're painted with that brush when if there was the resources available, and especially the monthly part. So the one-time the payment is like you throw a life ring to pull somebody from drowning, but you haven't established them to keep from, having to tread water for too long if you didn't do the regular thing. So some of the things that I've heard of what people should do with their stimulus have been the $600 stimulus, mind you. They need to pay off high interest debt. It's like, what planet are you? The money managers we're talking about are on a different planet altogether than where most people are at. And that disconnect is probably one of the most important things that we need to address now that it's becoming too obvious.
So I want to chime in with a story that followed my experience at the women's shelter. I ended up getting 3 installments of the Freedom Dividend, essentially $1,000 for 3 months. And I thought it was going to be for a year when I first got it. Okay, when I heard Freedom Dividend, I'm like, oh, that's great. I got steady income. So, but what ended up, I want to just talk about the psychology that happened with that. Okay, like let's just have a proof of concept, right? Okay, so the first thing was there was other women in the women's shelter I wanted to help, right? I ended up buying a cart for a woman so she didn't have to throw her shit away. 2 elderly ladies were able to put their car in the shop. Another gal, I gave her gas money so she could go to a job interview, right? And then with the rest of the money, I was able to pay some of the other things. right? But that was also around the time that I went to help with the Iowa caucus, right? But during that time, I started thinking, well, okay, I could put some money here, I could save some money here. I started planning and strategizing how I could use the money and pay off some debts, right? And I was really excited about that. And when I found out I was only getting 3 installments, I was like, oh, okay. Well, shit, now I have to like cancel all these plans I had, right? I can't pay certain people. I have to find priorities over the other priorities, you know. And in addition to that, like panic set back in. I had a panic attack when I found out it was only 3 installments. I was like, oh crap, right? So because they pulled it, it was just like, okay, now I can't do all the beautiful things and help all the people that I want to help with my money that I could have invested in more people, right? And so I was like back to, okay, I guess I'm going to be creative with taking care of my basic needs and do what I can, right? So that was just what went through my head, right? And during like thinking I was going to have so much, how I did it, like I wanted to give, I wanted to forward the money, and then I also wanted to plan, and I wanted to like add value as much as I could where I could and pay back debts. So I think we need to consider that these are things that if statistically, if I had these thoughts, more people are going to do this statistically, right? It's inevitable. And if there was ever a chance that we could do that, like why wouldn't we take it, you know? But if you have to only give it to a few people, then fucking give the money to the right people then, and not just these corporations, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to help somebody on my end as well, and it's like UBI would definitely go a long way. Not not only for her but also for me, because like we're both in the same sort of predicament. Like we're in those we're in like a like as Angie would say an abusive relationship, and it's like and we're like in our late 20s and 30s and stuff, and it's like there's so much we want to do. Like we want to like be able to invest and start a business and travel and do vlogs and be a full-time content creator and all that stuff, but we're so limited due to because everything comes down to money, and the 600 it's like it wasn't much, but I still was able to give some to her. But it's like God, I really hope we get the 2K, maybe even make it recurring or whatever, because it's like that's like because everything's expensive, man. And it's like, and that's the other thing, like with UBI, if you give everyone
our
UBI,
cable bill just went
like,
up
and they
too.
spend it, yeah, like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, if here's the thing, like, here's the benefit of like giving everybody UBI or most people UBI in this country, and when they spend and it goes throughout the economy, what will happen is that things like increasing the minimum wage and also lowering prices, it's like that's what happens,
Yeah,
and so
I wanted to. I'm sorry. I wanted to ask about. There's a very different dynamic than a stimulus one-time thing and a survival support every month, because they said, okay, we gave you a stimulus, but y'all saved it back in March. Well, it's a good darn thing we did, because we were going to have to have that for months and months and months. If they wanted to get into the economy and flow, you've got to do the regular thing, because that, like you were talking about, say, your thinking changes towards long-term goals if you kind of know it's coming every time, versus you're like, so if they want, like they said, oh, people are saving, they're not spending it. Well, most people save because they're saving up for something that's going to change their lives.
Yeah.
The people who save it for the wealth's sake and never spend it are the ones that are you got to get up above the level before someone is just saving it because they've got it and it's for investment or they're getting interest off of it.
Just imagine
if you want it to really stimulate, it's got to be regular. It's got to be regular.
If you had a job that paid you once every 8 months, got the first stimulus in March and the last stimulus right now, and it gave you these and then some people think like, oh well, a job is like a UBI. No, you know why? Because jobs like I was working seasonal. My schedule was erratic as fuck. They gave me like one.
It's a lot. It's a lot. had many jobs where, like when I worked at the zoo, they were like, well, okay, call in day of, make sure you're actually still working because the weather, right? And then, if you get there, oh, we actually need to let you go early because we don't have enough people coming in.
Yeah, these jobs are zero stability. It's like we may need you, we may not need you. I remember I was working fast food, and then they're like, "Oh, like my labor is high. I'm gonna let you." They told me this. It's so demeaning. These assholes. They said you can go home. You can go home doesn't mean you can go home. That means we're cheap, we're greedy. Even though we scheduled you to work from like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., we're letting you go at 4 because we don't have that many customers coming in. And that's something that is outside of your control. And people say like, "Oh, a job for stability, and a job."
And this is
shut up.
This is something that's unique to the United States. Anywhere in Europe, unless it's a family-owned restaurant and subject to a special set of rules, anybody that's working in a restaurant is guaranteed their pay, whether there's business or not. Wow. They're not. It's not a based economy. It's not.
Can I point out our time real quick? I just want to, Josh, are you okay on your time, or do you have other obligations?
Yeah, I'm going to be going probably in like 5-10 minutes.
We should probably do our things. Karen, you have one last thought, and then maybe we could do our sign-offs. Okay. I just want to respect time.
Good financial planning requires a regulated income, period.
Yeah.
And that UBI is very powerful for that. That's all.
Okay, cool. Josh, do you have any platforms that you want us to check out, or how can we find you, get in contact with you, or anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, just if you're interested in following me, a New Progressive Voice or Paradigm Shift, I'm really thinking if I want to change it to Paradigm Shift. But right now, you can look me up under New Progressive Voice. Thanks for having me. Thanks for changing your schedule. Really appreciate you guys. You can also follow me on Twitter, Joshua NPV1, Joshua 4 NPV1.
And Josh, just a little favor. Can you let Tom on Nerds for Yang know about us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
oh boy,
anybody that wants to come on to my show, just like follow me on Twitter, and we'll arrange something. So,
Josh, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time, and you've been a fascinating guest. I would love for you to come back. The schedule's posted every Thursday, so if you ever see anybody here you'd like to sit in on a conversation with or talk to, just come on, drop in. You're welcome anytime. Anyone's been a guest is welcome to come back on the show anytime. You don't have to announce yourself or plan it or anything. So don't be a stranger. Please use the Discord. It's a good resource for meeting other basic income advocates. And thank you again. I hope to. I will follow you on Twitter, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, okay. Who's the Chicago person here?
Izzy.
Me.
He's not on camera, but he's
South Side.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was North
I'll
Side.
be on camera soon. I'm like setting up video and stuff, and also, I got to shave and various other stuff, and also.
But that does not stop me. I don't know, man.
Izzy Land. I'm a little bit, but not.
Would you
much,
like to do a sign off or any contact, or you don't have to, you're not obligated to, but if you have any plugs you want to do, this is the time.
Clicks? What do you mean?
Plugs.
Like if you want.
If you want to drop any contact information or promote any projects you're doing.
Media or whatever you want. You don't have to, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. How do I do that?
You just say, "Hi, my name is this. You can contact me here." Like Ariel, why don't you go first? So he's not. So we're not starting with him.
My name is Ariel, and you can contact me on Twitter, and I have a Twitter. It's at Ariel's Ariels. So that's ARIELS AERIALS, and I also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/revolutionary thinking. So yeah, that's it.
So yeah, if you want to tell us your social media or anything, if you want to, totally optional. Maybe you don't want to broadcast that. Totally understandable. Either way, thank you for joining us. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, for sure. I can give you mine. It's So it's BORMADZ, BORMADZ as in zebra. It's like my wife, half my wife's name, half my name. So.
Nice.
Yeah. Picture of two little babies in Maine. So
cute.
Cool.
Thank you. Well, yeah, thanks again for coming on. It's always cool to meet a listener and just talk to someone from outside of our sphere. We appreciate your perspective, and you're welcome to come back if you like.
Well, let me plug in before y'all go. Then I know we don't have much time. Yeah. It's like I'm Ishmael Bolden, Ishmael Izzy Bolden, and you can find me on Twitter at or Instagram at Izzy Bolden, IZZYBOLDEN. I'm on TikTok and Twitch under Izzy Reborn or Izzy Land Reborn 92 IZZY REBORN 92 because I'm a 90s baby. I'm also I'm on Discord under Izzy B IZZYB. And what else? I also have a YouTube channel and a podcast. YouTube being Izzyland YT IZZYLANDYT. Very great visual content and stuff. Then there's also my podcast Izzyland Uncut IZZYLAND Uncut. And we talk about various things, various discussions like this one. And if you yourself want to be the next guest, and jump on in on the next episode of Izzyland Uncut, definitely hit me up on Twitter, DM me, and we'll definitely set it up. That includes you and Josh, man. Like no pressure. It's like come on in. Just make sure to grab a carrot because it's about to be one deep rabbit hole. But that's all I gotta say. And just trying to keep on pushing for what Andrew Yang's messages and stuff, and just making it a reality, and and make it go global and stuff, because it's definitely needed. We need those ideas, and of course various others. I mean, I'm not going to just be all Andrew Yang. It's like Andrew Yang's just a messenger. It's like as long as you have the right ideas, the forward ideas and stuff, I'm and you're consistent or whatever, and you're humble. You check all the marks. I'm all for you. Okay, from the top level to to bottom, to any average person or whatever. It's like as long as that's who you are, whatever, we're good. It's like and yeah, I'm definitely going to be on your side. I'm definitely going to push for you and stuff. But yeah, it's like I just want you,
Izzy.
Yeah. Well,
we should continue. Kai, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Kai Zen KC. So that's at KAIZEN-KC. That's on Twitter. That's also my my Patreon page, which I haven't updated in a long time, but I'm starting to process new ideas. And thank you for having me on, as always. Good to see everybody.
Great. Karen, you want to go next?
Yes, my name is Karen Patrick. My Twitter handle is at CareWorthCast. I like to talk about the universal basic income and caregivers. And I have been plugging the Basic Income Earth Network, basicincome.org, because I think it's really important to pay attention to what's happening internationally with the universal basic income. There's quite a few countries that had a temporary one based on the pandemic, and some of them, especially in Canada, are talking about making that permanent, which is very exciting. So if you really want to know the basics of basic income, basicincome.org is a really great way to get started and to learn.
Cool.
You said you do caregiving stuff?
Yeah, I was a 20-year caregiver for my daughter who's disabled, and a family caregiver for 8 family members. And cool. I really feel that it's important that we recognize that there's a lot of people working very hard every day who are taking care of their family members who are not supported, and especially right now during the pandemic, we need to recognize that. And also, it's important that caregivers recognize that for themselves. They kind of do it because out of love, but they deserve to be supported, and it'll help them be better caregivers and less stressed out.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna go and then Shay will take it out, okay? So my name is Faye Doney. My Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok are all Tisdoney, TISDONEY. I'm keeping busy doing lots of things. I'm currently trying to get a universal basic income pilot in Fort Deposit, Alabama. I am recording as much as I can to make it into a documentary. I'm working with starting a nonprofit and connecting all the different leaders that I've met in the YangGang to collectively make a world better. And, if you guys have any resources or leads into ways I can pull off some of the things I need to do, including funding, that would be wonderful. We should be able to do grant writing. We're going to have a grant writing class for the people who are getting onboarded. So that will help. But reach out to me on Twitter if you want to get in contact with me, get me on your podcast or whatever, or just talk about me. If more people just talked about me, I might actually have a chance. I can't. I have to learn everything on my own. But if I can learn it, I can teach it. So if I can learn how to help people get stimulus checks, that would help me because I didn't get mine. I fall through all the cracks, guys. So, troubleshooting the problems that we have on the ground level, I think is important. Come check it out. My story, I would say TikTok's kind of the commercial into my life, and my Twitch is kind of like the long form episode. So check it out. And Shale, you want to take it out?
Yeah,
that was
cool.
great, Faye. Thank you. It was a
just wanna
great
let
show,
people know
everybody.
before we go. I'm gonna have an interview separately with Cody, who worked at like Facebook and Twitter to get into the nitty gritty of like what's going on and how they're like using our attention. So that's
Nice.
that's
Oh, nice.
youtube.com/revolutionary thinking. It's probably going to be out tomorrow. I'm having it.
All right,
I'm having it tonight, edited.
youtube.com/revolutionary thinking. Thank you, Ariel. All right, that was a great show. It was a long show. Thank you, everyone, for sticking out the whole way through. I really love seeing a cosmopolitan group. Just talking about things we agree on, disagree on. We all learn stuff, I think. Anyway, my name is Shale Riley. My Twitter is SHAELRILEY. That's the best way to contact me. We'll be back in 2 hours with AI Dungeon, just playing some fun games, and then we'll be back next weekend on Friday with more basic income advocacy on the YangGang Roundtable. So take care. Be good to each other. Goodbye. Thank you again.